am I allowed to cook Korean food?
Because he's not adopted.
He's not adopted. He's like first gen Korean.
And
So,
aren't you technically too? Other than the
I'm
fact-
Gen Zero, but I was raised by white people. I don't know anything but like American culture. He knows like Gen Zero culture as immigrants to America, like parents like putting a lot of pressure, like the stereotypical Asian parent, like you need to be successful, don't be a failure. We came here with nothing, so you could be successful. Don't waste, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that. I was, if it's interesting being an adoptee because I've never met anybody I've ever been blood related to, but I know for a fact that my parents wanted me.
Not what I said.
They're like, he has the same kind of eyes. I was like, who, John?
Trey, you're kind of blocked on that one. I don't know if you're worried about that.
Getting blocked.
You're the star of the show.
Okay. Oh, we're recording right now?
We are, yes.
Oh, tight.
Welcome to the next episode of the Dropcast. We're episode 17.
17.
We got Sean Marshall, Chef Sean Marshall, and our good friend Matt Wilkin, who you've seen before if you've kept
Episode
up.
13.
Who knows? But yeah, first time with 4 people. Let's see how that goes.
This is the first time with 4 people?
Yeah. we've
First
never
time,
done
yeah,
it.
we broke out that one fresh out the box just for you guys.
Oh, nice.
I'm here for fact checking and color commentary.
Yep.
Cool.
And musical interludes.
Sweet. Perfect. Perfect
Today's-
name for that.
Today's also an interesting day because it's 100 degrees outside. It's that Wednesday where they said it's going to be 106 real feel. So I already have a little sweat spot on my chest. I got the AC cranking. See what we can do here.
See who passes out first.
Right?
It's not that bad in here. It's
No,
pretty, I thought it was going to be
we're
way
cool.
worse.
No, yeah, we're good.
Well, you're
I
used to kitchen temperatures, so.
I was also I called John's like, you want to do it this weekend or whatever? I was like, it's supposed to be hot as hell. You live on the 3rd floor. What?
Yeah, the studio is on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that bad though.
Vaulted ceilings, as you can tell.
It's classic Ipsy bullcrap. I also threw out my back the other day, so I got a big old ice pack on me right now, so I'm good.
The
He's
rest
staying
of us are-
extra cool.
Yeah, we're
I feel
kind of
good.
jealous of that.
Oh yeah,
Where's our
it
ice
feels
packs?
great. But yeah, so we brought
My back hurts.
This episode sponsored by Icy Hot.
we brought Sean on the show because he's been a good friend of mine, and I think he's got a cool story to tell. You also just had a pop up last weekend on that other day that was incredibly hot. What was it, Sunday?
Yeah, I got heat exhaustion. That sucked.
That was a horrible introduction to Sean. You are an amazing chef.
Yeah, I'm not done yet. I just started talking about it. I was going for it.
I don't know. You're just kind of like,
I don't know about all that. I get all
I wasn't
weird
even
when people
done.
do
all
that.
right, take the torch.
Sean
Make it
is a
modest.
top star, multi-Michelin star chef, certified. He was on the show Chef's Table. He actually was trained by Gordon Ramsay himself.
Actually, fathered Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need Matt to fact check that for me.
It's not on Wikipedia.
He's like, checks out.
Snopes.
Yeah, artificial insemination.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your son's success.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And your time traveling.
He's a
ability.
wild one. That Gordon.
Well, yeah. Tell us what's up, man. How you been? What have you been up to?
Lot of stuff, man. Oh, sorry, drifted off there. Lot of stuff, man.
We don't cut
Health
in this,
has-
by the way.
What?
We don't cut.
We don't cut.
Cut that out.
No, we don't.
I'm gonna say that a lot. So, like, yeah, just cut.
We're not gonna cut any of it out,
Yeah,
just so you
Just
know.
snip that.
No
We'll
snipping.
put an ad in right there.
I'm watching
No
the
ads.
engagement right now just go down.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been working on my career for probably the last, over a decade, 12 years. Yeah, I started cooking right out of high school. But I've had some health issues for a long time since before that. In my adolescence, diabetes led to all sorts of complications like an amputation of half my foot and kidney disease.
You're just going in there for it with everything. I was just
Yeah.
saying like what you've been up to recently.
Oh, just cut that out. We'll just snip. We can take that and we'll just move it towards the end. Then credits. What have I been up to recently? I moved to Detroit. That's been sick.
Yeah, we went to Flowers of Vietnam. That place was amazing.
Yeah.
The cuisine out there is
Good food. Good food.
primo.
Yeah, it's nice to be close to the heartbeat of like. I mean, we're no international city, but we're at least a metropolitan. You know.
Got some more options in Ipsy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I got some more options than Ipsy for sure.
Dude, I was on set with somebody the other day, and they were like, "Wow, you live in Ipsy? You have all the great food options." And I
They-
thought to myself, I was like, "What?"
They kind of aren't wrong though, because like
Before
there's
like
a,
8 p.m. maybe.
Yeah.
yeah, but
That's
there's a
anywhere.
lot of good like hole in the wall like ethnic food in Ipsy. I will give them that. Like there's
Yeah, like Hana.
Hana, great. I've been going there for 30 years.
But then like what else?
I mean, Banh Mi's great at Pho House. Pita Pita's got some good Lebanese food.
It's true.
We got a Moroccan place, you know.
Maybe I'm just spoiled.
Bellflower.
Yeah,
Get a
Bellflower.
little
That's
taste
you.
of Louisiana.
Sean, how do you feel about Bellflower? Give us your full, honest opinion.
Honest opinion, I had gone a couple times. I like their lunch.
So Bellflower,
sandwich.
real quick, for those of you that don't know, is a newer restaurant in the past couple of years that does a little bit higher end Louisiana Cajun style cooking, or like
Kind
would
of,
would you
yeah,
classify it
they-
as Louisiana or like?
Well, they try to encompass
like
like,
a-
just southern cuisine, like
Yeah.
everything from like the eastern seaboard to like, you know, Gulf of Mexico.
So yeah, really like one of the finer, if not the finest places, or like upper scale places to dine in.
Yeah, I
Ipsy,
mean,
Did
I
we
would
get
say.
top restaurant in Michigan last year, or something like that?
I don't.
I swear my
know
phone's
about
charging,
that,
but I swear it
but-
got like a really prestigious award.
Matt's on it.
Yeah. There we go. There we go. I like it.
You know, I liked
Here,
their.
talk softer and get the mic closer to your face.
Yeah, I'll eat it. All right.
Yeah,
You're gonna
there we
adjust
go.
it.
That's what I want to hear.
Sorry, my voice is kind of messed up too. I've been really.
It's okay.
These allergies have been killing me
I'll
lately.
get you some water eventually.
One of 3 best new restaurants of 2020
In Michigan.
Ooh.
In Michigan.
in Michigan. Yes.
There we go.
Really?
I knew it was
What's
something
the
crazy.
publication?
Gawker.
James Beard.
Bellflower Weekly.
DailyMail.co.uk.
Daily Mail. That's a Michigan newspaper, right?
Is it?
Well, I think it has to be. Yeah.
.uk.
My fact checking skills are, I don't know.
Where's Jamie?
The .uk does throw me off. But
But yeah, what are your thoughts on their whole shebang? What they're doing over there?
It's a beautiful restaurant. Their architecture firm was great. They designed the place out of a really weird shaped place.
this is so much more tame than all the other opinions you've given me about them in the past.
I'll get there. Lunch was great. I'm gonna say all the good things first. Lunch was great. The po' boys that they do a limited lunch menu, just sandwiches, po' boys, shrimp, oyster, catfish. I think I've had something like that.
I think their bread's a little overrated. Like everybody loves their po' boys for their bread, but
I can have a Bellflower sandwich every like couple months. I feel like.
yeah, their gut bombs.
Yeah, I haven't had one in a minute.
I
but
had one
when
just
they first
last week.
opened up. I wanted to check them out.
They are slappers, but your body remembers them. So you don't really have
your
to.
body remembers them, and you want to like you gotta take some time out of your day to sleep after.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a bomb in your stomach if you eat like a sandwich.
I guess their wine program is pretty good. I've had good wines there. I went for dinner twice. Both experiences weren't very good. The service was just like very mediocre. Like they didn't like clear any of my plates before setting down shit on the table. That were empty plates.
Was this early on or was this like recently?
It was early on. So, you know, I'll give them that. I went both times early on. So there's that. There's a handicap there. Also, the food just, a lot of things just didn't make sense as far as the dishes went, in my opinion. Like what was on the plate, things weren't balanced as far as like acids, fats, salts. I think the portions were kind of weird. You know, I could chime in all day about every restaurant. I haven't had like a like super satisfying meal where I couldn't gripe about anything in like a very long time.
I just remember when they
But I'm
opened up.
just a bitch about that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just remember when they opened up, I was like telling you, I was like, you need to get your foot in that door and then like take it over, like menu wise. And you were telling me, you're like, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do any of that.
Well, they also like have a chef that opened the concept. He's friends with the owner. I know of him. I've worked with some people that have worked with him. Seems like a great, nice guy. Like I'm not trying to step on toes. I'm not even trying to step on toes in Ipsy because it's not like what I do. Like I'm not here to like show anybody up. I'm just here to put my shit out there.
Whoa, what was
Remix.
that?
The podcast gods. The way you talked about food just there was pretty interesting, and I feel like you kind of view food in a very hyper analytical way, kind of the same way we would view like films now. Like I can't watch films the same way that I did before I kind of got into cameras and stuff. Now I'm just only paying attention to like lighting and like shot types and the acting going on and the story being told. It's like completely different as before when I like wasn't into media as much. But how you were talking about like just the acids, the fats, and like balancing a plate like that, I think is
So
pretty unique.
Those are the 4 things you need for everything, right? It's acid, fat, salt, and
That's really all you need.
yeah.
They say heat. I mean, like there's a show. It's like heat, but you don't need heat. It's fucking salads. Dude.
Yeah, because like
salads are delicious.
the fat needs the acidity to get cut, and then like the salt also needs to complement both, right?
It's enhancement. Yeah.
So what you've like, I want you to talk a little bit about kind of where. So like you have been in the kitchen since you were a little kid, cooking and stuff. But you've kind of evolved from like working in kitchens to now like doing your own thing with these unique style pop-ups. But like with your pop-ups, there's other companies like around the area that do pop-ups, but yours are definitely, I feel, way more elevated as far as the food that you're serving, and then even to your private dinners too. That's like a whole elevated thing. So like I would love for you to chime in about those and how those kind of came to be, or like why you chose to go that like route, you know.
Well, I think the difference between me and a lot of pop-ups that are kind of like emerging and popular right now, besides a few, are a lot of the guys that kind of have followed the same footsteps I have either go into more of a management position in like a brick and mortar, or find their own concepts with a brick and mortar, which I'm still like thriving to do, but medical situations have kind of set me back. And that's what kind of forced me into the pop-up game. Whereas the rest of the ecosystem of like pop-ups that kind of generated from a necessity from COVID are kind of, a lot of them are home cooks, or a lot of them are greener cooks trying to get a leg up.
And you're kind of you're in like a whole different category as far as like this higher end chef, or like sous chef kind of, or not sous chef, but like bigger than just like you said, a home cook or something of that nature. And you were saying of like following that kind of trend of either like getting in that managerial role in a company or like in a restaurant, or creating your own restaurant. Like that's seems like the options when becoming a chef, you know, like trying to climb that ladder.
And Sean, you
correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you vocalized in the past that you really want full creative control and like control over basically everything in a restaurant and food wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely have. I'm pretty OCD about, I guess, my message to the guest, what they're receiving from me. I don't want that to be altered too much. So I'm definitely like the last person to see what goes out, and kind of put my name on it and sign it off before it's consumed. Or
Well, and you also talked about like the architecture at Bellflower, so like the space in which you're serving food, because like I kind of see you as an artist beyond just food. There's
It's a whole experience, yeah.
So maybe talk about that, like the ambience. Like, what are you trying to create for your guests beyond just
dank food.
And Sean also has really good taste. I mean, everything from the key rings that are on your keys to like a lot of the trinkets in your bedroom and stuff like that. It's all very specific Sean.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I do have like a specific taste or aesthetic that, I just see in my head, like just searching for that, Socrates perfect circle. You never really quite get it, but you're always thriving. And I don't even necessarily try to do that with everything that I do or have or pursue, but it's not necessarily on the forefront of my mind, but it's something that's always kind of there that I'm just like, well, I can do that better. I need to do that better. I need to like make it more efficient. I need to make it prettier. I need to make it like tastier, whatever it may be.
And I mean, you even did that to yourself too. Because your whole entire body is completely covered in like custom tattoos and like drawings that you feel important to you. And like,
yes and no though, because like I also respect other artists and really want them to do what they do.
mm-hmm.
A perfect example is my graphic design guy for like all of my pop-up concept stuff is an old friend of mine, and he really works pro bono. I'm like, dude, when I can afford to pay you, I'm gonna take good care of you, but like
Trey likes his stuff.
until then, like he's just really happy to pour some creative energy into something.
Mm-hmm.
He's the shout out to Mark Y. He's the graphic designer for the Museum of Art in Toledo. So he designs like like placards and exhibit stuff, like special things that come in and out of the museum. And yeah, every time I ask him to do something, I'm just like, yo, do what you think. I trust you. Like, your shit is beautiful. These are the words I need on there. Make sure they're spelled correctly. Other than that, fucking do your thing, because it's always just stellar work.
Mm-hmm.
These last menus he put out, I could frame and put up on my walls, and they look like posters. Like, they're sick.
Yeah, they're pretty nice.
And then, we got connections at, shout out to Small Works in Detroit. They're like a little like communist printing company that just like helps out small businesses and prints for free, very, very high quality prints. So they got they do letterpress and resto, and beautiful work. Always do it for free. We try to trade, give them some food.
Mm-hmm. Is that kind of what you're trying to get people to do when you're like, hey, I want to do a pop-up at your spot? It's them being able to step forward or step back more rather and just be like, hey, I trust you. Like, give me your food experience. The kind of the same way that you do with the graphic artists and stuff, or what?
Yes, but again, like if I'm putting my name, my image on something, I definitely want to like make sure I know what's going out. I don't want like some hack representing me.
Mm-hmm.
But there are like plenty of chefs that are homies of mine that are like, anything you do, man. Like if I had a spot, if I had like a brick and mortar, like I'm going to go take a week off, come over, bring your menu. You can use my guys or bring your own guys, whatever. We'll figure it out. Do your thing. Because that's what it should be. I don't like all this competition shit. That's really notorious in like the restaurant industry, like secrets and gatekeeping and all this shit. Like it should be like a more of a community, more of a free trade, and like
kind of like the way that like Brian and Dave makes pasta and all those guys just kind of click around and share each other's ingredients and food and
oh yeah, totally. Like Ipsy's got a great culture for it. We don't get as many, like I've noticed living in Ipsy and working kind of with the Ann Arbor scene too, is, we don't get as many transient chefs that have like, the New York or Chicago or San Francisco experiences Detroit, but we still don't in Detroit either. Like we're not any of those cities, and we're kind of far from it.
Do you think it's just a money thing?
It's an industry thing. I mean, the guy that really owns the city is Dan Gilbert, and he owns just like a rocket. Like, it's huge. It's a billion it's like billions of dollars. Like, it's a Fortune 500 company, right? But it's not like Google.
Yeah.
Like in Seattle, right? Or not Seattle, but
Silicon
like
Valley.
San Francisco area, or like Starbucks in Seattle, or like any like countless places in New York that are just like headquarters. So there's no like no real international trade that's going in and out of the city. There's no real reason for populations of ethnic groups to kind of populate the city and kind of bring those elements in. I mean, we have Southwest Detroit, and we have a great like Mexican and Central American like food culture. But
Southwest is delicious.
yeah, but like that's kind of it. I mean, we have a small Jamaican culture. We have we have a huge Arabic culture. That's great. And some Asian cultures north of Detroit, but it's not like it's not like we have boroughs filled with like these people.
It's crazy. I was driving up
We
and down
don't have a
Washington the other day,
Chinatown,
and I was just like basically just from Gulfside all the way into Ypsi. There's like 5 or 6 different Asian restaurants of all different, like there's Vietnamese, there's Japanese, there's Chinese, and then there's also, like you said, like Pita Pit, the Moroccan Grill, and just all these different
Pita.
Pita. Yeah, not Pita Pit. You're right.
Plug 'em.
But it was just so interesting to me because I was driving. I was like, man, we do kind of have every single thing on this strip right now.
Yeah, I mean we're lucky in that regard, but like the places I'm talking about have like places the sizes of towns that are just
Food.
Chinatown, Koreatown, Little Italy. That's where like famous dishes are developed. Cioppino is a San Franciscan a dish that was made by Italian immigrants in Little Italy in San Francisco. You know what I mean? Like it's a anthropological thing almost.
You know what I do not like though? Gastropubs.
Oh yeah, why is that?
Because I feel like every gastropub you go into is just going to basically be the same. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but every time I go to any of these restaurants, like you're driving up north and there's like a place in Grand Rapids or Traverse City or even in Depot Town and other places where it's just like, hey, you can come here and you can get a burger with fries and it, like we've got all the same IPAs that everybody else has.
We have maple bacon on our burger.
Yeah, exactly. Like, do you want a bourbon burger on some brioche? Like, it's fire.
With some fried Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, exactly.
Kimchi.
That type of shit. And I'm just like,
I mean, that's just a type of restaurant, There's
but
those kind of restaurants.
but they're
or if
so
you don't want
popular
that,
in comparison to like a lot of the other.
It's also a product of your
America's
environment.
fat asses, yeah.
Yeah, you go up north, like try finding something vegetarian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's tough.
Yeah. Are you vegetarian, Matt?
No, I'm not. But
So what's your favorite restaurant you've ever been to?
Ever.
Favorite restaurant. That's tough.
What about you, Trey? What's your favorite restaurant?
Roscoe's Chicken in LA was pretty fire. Takoi is up there.
Takoi's that place in Detroit, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
we
where
had
we
their
were.
short braised or their short ribs. There.
No, I have not. The
They have
braised.
like the hot oil on it, like where it like crisps up the skin and stuff.
Ooh, yeah.
It's
that
insane.
sounds
Where
good.
like you pour it over. It's crazy.
I'll have to get that. That sounds fire.
It's insane. Their papaya salad too.
Yeah, I love a good papaya salad.
That papaya
So
salad
good.
we had at Flowers Vietnam was amazing.
Yeah, it
A
was
little
good.
Never
spice
had
to it
them.
with the peanuts in it. Ooh.
So good.
that's always a weird question. Like, what's your favorite restaurant? So it's similar.
What's your
like,
favorite food?
What's your
then?
favorite music? And it kind of depends on the day. Like,
Yeah.
like on a hot summer day, I like listening to reggae.
Like
more than-
what's your death row meal?
Death row meal might be Hana.
Yeah.
Old japchae.
Mine would
Okay.
definitely be some sort of Korean barbecue and sushi.
For real?
Oh yeah,
Nice.
some good shit. What about you, Matt?
An almond.
One single chocolate
I like a
covered
nice,
almond.
crisp, cold apple.
Ooh,
Nice. What kind? What
That
variety?
actually sounds kind of nice.
I mean, I'm a honey crisper for sure.
Okay, I feel that.
Maybe like a little bit of crunchy peanut butter to dip it in.
Yeah.
Like,
That's some good stuff.
but a cold one. I like an apple
Yeah,
out of the
Yeah,
refrigerator,
super cold.
sliced up. in
Yep.
a-
The
Yep.
condensation adds to the juiciness of the apple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds really good right now.
I've always wondered about.
John, go fetch us some apples.
You got some in the
I
fridge
wish
down
I
there?
had some apples.
I've always wondered about death row meals. Like how, like, do you have a menu that you get to choose from, and is it just like
Do they even still do that anymore?
Well,
I
if
think
you
they
open it up and it's
discontinued
like, fooled you, bitch.
right, like, same shit you've been
that.
eating?
Who was it? Which one of the serial killers ordered like a huge, elaborate meal, and they did it, and then when they got there, he only took one bite and was like, "I'm just kidding, fuck you guys."
That's what I'm because I've heard stories where it's like
Mhm.
they had to go out and get these meals, but like
I want to eat the
I want
warden's
Kobe
daughter.
beef. They're like, Warden, you gotta do it.
death row meal. Sorry.
It's his dying wish.
But yeah, that is a good question because like when it comes to favorite restaurants, I would have to say mine would definitely be Miki, but it's not because of the food, but it's just because like I used to work there. I get treated very well there. You get like free soup and salad, and it's like damn good.
That's that
miso
place that
soup.
rubs your feet, right?
No. No.
It's got the monkeys with the velvet gloves underneath the table.
Yeah.
They just have bars in the cages.
What's a good monkey name?
Chim Chim.
Chim, rub my feet.
Dude, I was in Florida. We went to a monkey sanctuary. It was a bunch of rescue monkeys. There was this orangutan, Pongo, like 30 years old, like 600 pounds, like huge guy.
This will rip your skeleton like right
we were-
out of your flesh.
We were throwing him peanuts.
him.
Yeah, exactly.
We were throwing him peanuts like that they gave us to like give to the monkeys, and you'd throw it to him, and he'd like grab it and stuff, and then put it in his mouth, de-shell it, and then like take the shell and just go right back to you and like throw it back at you, and then he'd be like,
Like Mean Joe Green. Like,
"Come on,
Thanks,
more!"
kid.
He'd literally just more.
oh man,
Damn.
they're set
Pretty,
up
it
there.
was really cool, but
I
it was
heard
also
recently
sad
on
at
a
the same time.
podcast. I think it was Dan Harmon's podcast. They were talking about
What is the name of that podcast again?
Harmontown.
Oh.
It's canceled, but I'm going back through from the beginning. It's a lot of great content. He was talking about like animals in the film industry and working with them, and they were talking to one of the handlers, and he's like, "Oh, so like, how does this whole thing work? Like, how do you get
First,
the orangutan to?"
we shove a bunch of drugs into them.
Well, you see this.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty messed up actually.
Well, no, it's like, well, I mean, like when they're young, they kind of like just listen to you, with orangutan specifically, they hit a certain age and they just stop listening to you.
I just don't give a fuck anymore.
So he said that the handler he was talking to, his mentor, another animal handler, lived with this orangutan.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, he made him get him beer, and so he'd be like, "Go get me a beer," and he'd go to the fridge, get him a beer, open the beer, and give it to him. He's like, "Give me a beer," and the orangutan didn't do it, and he was like, "Well," and he just took him outside and shot him.
What? I was literally gonna
He's
say
like,
that.
because they get like crazy once they know that they don't have to listen to you anymore because
That's
they
abuse,
realize
bro.
Oh my
it's,
gosh.
it's humane,
What?
quick. It's quick.
Yes, but okay.
Humane,
Let's
but-
reframe what you actually mean to say when you say that.
I think that's not the best word.
Yeah. No.
Are you gonna reset the cameras? Okay, yeah. So, okay. So back to the food stuff, Sean. What is, you said? So we know that Hana's like one of your favorite restaurants, and I know that you love Indian food. But like, if
Hana's Korean, by the way, just so
what?
there's no confusion by the guests or from the viewers. Hana is Korean food.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I didn't mean to catch off.
No, but what I was gonna say is, it's like what is your like go-to meal?
Go-to meal there is
No, it's like if you were just like, what could you eat and not stop eating it?
ramen.
Ramen.
The cheap shit too.
Really?
The bad stuff.
No.
The
Why?
bad stuff?
Why?
What? I don't know, man. I just love how salty and like I'll just like take like 3 packs and open them up. Put an egg in there.
Do you ever
Mix-
eat them raw, like the crunchy?
I used
like
to
you
do
put
that
the
all
put
the
I
time when I was a
actually
kid.
so like for pop-ups and shit. I kind of like I really like highbrow, lowbrow. You know,
Oh, like
Sold
a low class,
Like your
but high
Dino
class
Nuggets?
kind of thing.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
Dino Nuggets. That was sick.
Yeah.
But I'll take like ramen noodles.
Think-
Just
yeah, you
crunch
had-
them
yeah,
up
yeah,
over
yeah, I
some,
think I've
like-
seen
Or how
that.
you've used spam in a lot of your meals, and people are like, "This is the greatest food I've ever had in my life." And you're
I'd be like,
"It's really
yeah,
just spam."
$13, thank you.
I mean, that's just like that's a skill I feel like to turn or like just to elevate what
Well,
is
to
already so subpar and then like put it up there is pretty cool. It's a
To do it proper is like there's
I
a
don't know,
little bit of like
you're bleeding creativity though within this whole chef making food and all of this. Like your dishes are all paintings or works of art in some way, shape, or form. Which all your stuff and all of your like mentality, I feel like, is really hand in hand with any type of creative. You know, it's the same thing, which is really
It's
cool.
like an element of fusion, you know, whether it's highbrow, lowbrow, fusing those two, or you know, different styles.
I mean,
Well, I
it's
mean,
like taking
really,
a real quick, like taking a modern painting and throwing it in like a vintage frame or something, or like a shit frame or whatever. it
yeah,
is,
that's
you know?
cool. I like that. Totally. I mean, like what appeals to me is contrast, and honestly, I think it's like it's really a human nature thing. Is like contrast is appealing.
Mm-hmm.
It sticks out from status quo. It sticks out from the norm, and if you can do it right, you hit a home run. And
Because
people
like,
love it.
isn't there refresh me a little bit on your whole? Because there was a whole like story and thing behind like your first couple pop-ups, right? With like it's with your most recent pop-up with like the stigmatism behind Magook, yeah.
oh yeah, word.
Yeah, that's the story behind that word. I think is really interesting.
Yeah, but that's just another. I mean, I want you to describe that, but that's like just another layer of like elevating or creating a whole like experience or like feeling more than just again like dank food, which I think
And-
is really tight, and pushing that boundary it's creativity, you know.
And I think if you're listening here, this would be a good time to go to Sean's Instagram, which is, what is it? Gastrogoon,
Yeah, at Gastrogoon.
all one word.
Yep.
Yeah, you can take a look at exactly what we're talking about here. Continue. What's the
Thanks.
story behind Magook?
So I don't know. I get really bored with cooking the same thing all the time. So I'm always I'm constantly like flipping the script on my pop-ups. There's never been the same menu twice. I hardly use the same dishes twice, unless they're like real crowd pleasers and I'm doing it for the people more than I'm doing it for myself.
Like your Korean barbecue chicken sandwich.
I only
Shit
did
is
that twice.
fire.
Yeah, I should have done that a third time. People love
So
that.
you're-
But I replaced it with pastrami, and people love the pastrami.
So if you had it anyway, or like if people weren't an option, whatever, you'd have a new menu every time.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
pushing the boundary every time.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't even remember half the stuff I put out.
What are we,
like-
just some sort of guinea pigs to you or something?
seeing what sticks, seeing what doesn't. Do you
Not even that. It's just like
It's like a
I
comedian
don't know,
on tour.
The impermanence of things is
do you keep like a backlog or like a notebook of like stuff that hits and stuff that mainly stuff that hits
I have the intention
for like your
to,
restaurant or
see,
something
I have the
eventually?
intention to be like super like organized and like have reference and like have a backlog and have like cataloging and recipes written down, but most of the time the bangers are always on like napkins
Mm-hmm.
or like
Do you have an iPad?
I do have an iPad. Don't
Yeah.
utilize technology the way I should. John's been yelling at me forever to like put it on your schedule. I'm like, it's all up here, and I forget shit.
Dude, yeah, G Suite will save your life.
I'm the worst.
Maybe talk about your creative process a little bit, because we talked once, and you kind of like where the inspiration comes from, and it sounded like your process is similar to that of like a writer or a painter, or like you're practicing your craft and you're kind of waiting for that inspiration. Is what I took away from your explanation of it. So like, what does that creative process look like for you?
I think where I get the best outcomes are one of two things. I either need to be like captivated, so either by travel and like going to see like the Rockies or something, or the ocean, or like like seeing San Francisco. I was captivated. New York City is captivated.
Inspired.
Or just tight deadlines and kind of having an idea going in, but then changing it right before like or like altering it right before the deadline, and just working under the high pressure. I've always had good outcomes. Not necessarily for myself. I'm not always like stoked myself, but like the people end up, those are always somehow like the bangers. People just like really fuck with that dish that I'm just like, I had to really throw that one together last night, you know, because I ran out of this. And people, I've
That's so Sean Marshall, by the way, everybody. If they didn't
Yeah.
know.
I've found that sometimes getting by the, skinnier teeth really works out.
Pressure can make diamonds, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally. That's a good saying.
So what again is Magook, and like what does that?
Oh yeah, so
hold?
sounds kinda like
what's
a-
real that.
Kind of sounds like a racy term there. What is it
it's
going
a little,
for?
It's a little, raise your
Isn't there
eyebrow
like
at it.
something about that word? Or something
Not
like
so
that?
PC.
Kind of. A little punk rock. I try to do everything a little punk rock. But so I was, trying to figure out what this next concept was going to be. And I hit up one of my buddies. He's a Detroit artist. He's also Korean, but he grew up with Korean parents. And
I'm talking about the Han.
yeah, I'm not trying to name drop or anything, but yeah, Mike Han. We haven't talked in a while, but I was talking to him at the time, and I was like, hey man, like, I was adopted, and you know that, and I struggle with like that idea of how it relates to me in food. I was like, am I allowed to cook Korean food?
Because he's not adopted.
He's not
comes from
adopted. He's like first gen Korean.
And
So-
aren't you technically too? Other than the
I'm
fact-
Gen Zero, but I was raised by white people. I don't know anything but like American culture. He knows like Gen Zero culture as immigrants to America, like parents like putting a lot of pressure, like the stereotypical Asian parent, like you need to be successful, don't be a failure. We came here with nothing, so you could be successful. Don't waste, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that. I was, like, if it's interesting being an adoptee because I've never met anybody I've ever been blood related to, but I know for a fact that my parents wanted me. There was no doubt in their mind that they wanted me because they actively got me. You know what I mean? Like anybody can say,
Are you
yeah,
talking about
I
your
was
adopted
planned,
family,
but
not your biological family?
yeah, I'm talking about my adopted family. So like, there's some spoiling in there. There's some, I mean, we weren't by any means well off, but my parents did what they could to make sure I was happy.
And you were an only child too.
And I was only a child too. They could only afford
So you got
one.
all the attention, baby.
I could afford one. But to circle back, I asked him, like, so can I cook Korean food? Do I have like the right to? He's like, yeah, man. Like it's about being a Korean American. It's about having pride in being an immigrant and having an identity in this like confusing place. And I kind of like thought about that, and I thought about I've been called some salty names, like growing up where I did. I was like one of very few Asian people in my school district, and
Which is downriver, right?
downriver.
Is that Taylor or something?
No, I was like the furthest downriver you can go, like almost to Monroe and Rockwood. Our town didn't even have a high school. I went to Gibraltar School. But a lot of backwoods kids, a lot of kids going duck hunting before they go into school, and they're all in their camouflage with their lifted trucks and shit.
How did you fit in?
Being able to laugh at yourself. I was a fat kid with fat Asian kid with gay dads. Like, it was a tough childhood.
When did that whole entire scenario happen in your family?
I was adopted at 4 months old. My dad came out when I was 5.
Mm-hmm. And then your parents got a divorce?
Yup. And then I was just a chunker. So I was got to be able to make some jokes.
That's so
You gotta
unfortunately
be able,
ruthless.
you gotta be able to crack some jokes.
Jeez.
So I got along with most people, but still, it slips through the cracks, like some racism and shit.
Of course.
And
If you're constantly
I-
the butt end of a joke.
yeah, and I thought about like the word gook, and I was like, what's the origin of that word? So I looked it up, and it's used a lot in Vietnam, like in the Vietnam War, but it's kind of like this homogenized word, kind of used to describe just Asian people, like chink, which is kind of fucked up too, because like we can't even have our own damn words. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna just group us all and call us one thing or a couple things. And it actually originated in the Korean War, and little kids would go up to the U.S. GIs saying "Migook" because "Migook" means American, and they'd be like, "Migook, Migook," and the GIs misunderstood the word for like me, like I am a gook. So they thought the kids were being like, "Me gook, I'm a gook. Look, I'm a gook." So they're like, "Gook," and then it homogenized into Vietnam, and kind of went on from there. So I took that word, and it kind of
Reclaimed it.
represents me. Like I'm an American citizen. I'm culturally American. I mean, I've been eating Korean food my whole life because I was lucky enough to have adopted parents that really like to keep culture alive in any regard, not just Korean. I'd go to the Polish delis. I'd go to Italian delis. Any experience I could have as a child. That's where I was spoiled. Was my parents were very good, especially my mom, with making sure I had the experiences of diversity and understood culture and like didn't wasn't ignorant. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where that whole thing started. So I cook. So this concept is Korean American food, or my representation of Korean American food, and I try not to, like you said earlier with gastropubs, like throw kimchi on everything or just
Yeah, some of
call
that
it
dumb bullshit.
call it Korean fusion when it's just
It's like Brussels sprouts with a little bit of honey, some sesame oil,
Some
and then-
sriracha.
yeah, exactly. And they're like Asian fusion Brussels sprouts.
yeah, exactly, and then the homogenization
Throw some bacon on it.
of Asian ingredients is something I try to stray away from too. I'll do it a little bit here and there, but only where it really has to make sense, because I don't like mixing things that are too close because it's confusing. Like people tend to mix Korean and Japanese food, partly because like Korean food didn't take off in America, so they had to include Japanese food in their restaurants. Or Korean owners would own Japanese restaurants because Korean food didn't take off well as early as Japanese in America. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. That's where Migook kind of started.
So it's just kind of like a play or like a poke fun at, but like your whole. Well, I don't want to say
Identity.
yeah, like identity, if you will. You know.
Yeah, I call it. I'm exploring my identity through food. I'm exploring my culture through food, because I don't really know how to do it any other way, and I really take pride in like trying to find the Korean techniques and ingredients, and researching them more than just a surface level, understanding why, and then maybe toning it back or implementing it in a way that's I don't know, easy for the American palate, or I don't even want to say that because it kind of like waters it down, but just makes it accessible, makes it accessible, intriguing, and interesting, and something that people like. And I found that it's been doing pretty okay.
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things about just like that whole entire cuisine from that region of the world is just how simple some of those ingredients are, and like how much different flavor you can get from it. Like Trey, you had that little salad that I made the other day that was just like rice vinegar, a little bit of sesame oil, a little bit of chili oil, and all it was like cucumbers, corn,
Oh, yeah.
carrots, and onion. And dude, and it was like it's so banging. Like there's those flavors that can be achieved with just like the smallest amount of things. That over here, it's like you just got ketchup or something like that, you know?
Well, I mean, a lot of those simple, delicious combinations are just made out of necessity from being impoverished.
Yeah, it's kind of like the shepherd's pie of the South with like slaves and getting scraps and like how that whole
Oh,
entire
barbecue.
cuisine, barbecue, all that stuff.
I mean, it sucks is that shit's been exploited. Now it's the most expensive cuts of meat. You know how expensive chicken wings are now?
yeah,
Chicken wings were pennies
I think that's a supply and demand type of thing now at this point because everybody could just eat chicken wings all the time.
because they got exploited, but they used to
It's
be
true.
thrown away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, did they really?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was like it's slave food. Like all the tougher parts of the meat, the things that you need to smoke for a long time.
I love dark meat chicken.
They figured like the people that were impoverished figured out how to cook the things that are simple or garbage and make it good because they needed to.
yeah,
So yeah, if all you've got is cucumbers and some fermented vinegar and some
fire.
like that's all you have laying around. What, did you see a ghost?
No, everybody
You
just
d-
looked over there. so
No,
I looked
you
over
did
there.
that thing that like cats do when there's like nothing. It's like ghost.
But yeah, so what's up with this whole entire identity thing? Because I know a lot of people have talked about, like, oh, I'm trying to find myself or I'm trying to find my identity and everything like that. And I know there are times where people, like I used to have, I had a mullet and I cut it and people were like, you just trying to find your identity? And I was like, no, I was just growing a mullet. But the thing about it with you is like you actually are trying to find your identity. And like, how would you describe like that feeling or how food helps you do that? Because you do have this part about you, which is your race, which is Korean, but you grew up in a white world in like downriver, which is basically like white territory, and all the people around you were just white. So you're trying to assimilate to this race, but then there's this whole other culture and part about you who is like your blood, literally. That's just something that you've never
Who
explored.
I'm also not, part of.
What do you mean?
Like
You're not part of. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
you're
not that either. I'm
Yeah.
somewhere stuck between.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not. You look at me. I'm not a white guy, but I'm a fucking white guy. I'm a Twinkie, man. I'm yellow on the outside, but I'm white on the inside.
Yeah.
I'm all there. But like I was talking to my buddy Quinn on Snapchat. He's currently in Korea. He's a white guy. And he was saying, he's like, I'm just nervously saying kamsamnida and bowing because
What's
I don't
that?
know it. It's just hello. I'm like, yeah, but they'll understand. When I go, like, they're going to think that something's wrong with me. Because
You're gonna be like, what's wrong with this guy?
yeah, so, yeah, I'm kind of stuck in between there.
Are you planning on going over there sometime?
Eventually, when money's right.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta get that money right.
Yeah.
You've never been?
I've never been. Been once. Don't remember it.
I think that's a really cool. I mean, we've vocalized this in a number of different ways now, but just the blend, like what you're serving on a plate, really is like who you are in the sense of like this blend of both worlds. I just think that's really cool.
Yeah. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, I think, food gives me a way to really like say what I want to say. I've got a lot to say. You know what I mean?
But that's just your medium of saying it.
Yeah, without having to say it.
That creative outlet.
The only thing is like the only thing I feel like food can't really express is any like negative feelings that you may want to get out. So like,
just,
I'm
purposely make a dish that just tastes like
Everybody
shit.
just takes a bite of it. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, and you're like, fuck you.
you're like, I want to kill myself. Got a little dark, but
Jesus.
You just have to make it with like 50 ghost peppers.
For other people listening too, one of the things that Sean does, which I think is really cool because we keep talking about pop-ups. And yeah, pop-ups are cool and everything, but I mean, it's just a pop-up compared to the stuff that you usually do and that you've done, which is your private dinners, where like, say you want to take somebody out that's super special to you. You got a couple $100s to blow. You get these tickets and you have a full course meal in a building that is shut down with only you and maybe 15 other strangers. How many people do you usually have?
I normally do 2 turns of 12 diners at a time.
So then you go in, you sit down. There's a wait staff that comes out, and you get a meal and a menu. You don't get to pick anything off the menu because he's feeding you, but you get to see everything. And
That's a tasting menu.
yeah, everything is just like, I remember you took a large spine of a fish. And so like, as you can imagine, a spine has this mid column and then the ribs that come on the outside of it. You would cut up the spine piece by piece and then turned it sideways and then scooped out the inside of that inner column and then use that as like an actual serving dish. So like people were eating what out of that spine?
The tartare of that fish, I believe. That was actually John Yelnick. He's a partner of mine. We had a project called Pariah. I don't want to say had because I have
You guys still
intentions
do stuff.
of using that again. We want to kind of do some things together.
But pariah is like the outside. Like, how would you describe that? Because pariah means
Pariah
almost
came
like Ronin, outcast.
Outcast. It's like someone outside of society, someone that's like not doing things the way.
That's why you feed people out of a fish spine.
Yeah, that's why we have illegal pop-ups.
But then like Maguk is a whole different part of the cuisine style, and then that is you with your Korean American food.
So if we want to
Like, how
kind
would-
of
yeah, how would you
get
go
into the
into that?
nuts and bolts of things, I was working with John Yelnick, another very talented chef out of Detroit, working on his own projects. I'm gonna plug it real quick. Park Ranger. Hopefully he'll get a brick and mortar soon. I don't know if that's what he wants, but people are seeming to like his concept. John Yelnick and I worked together opening a place called Prime and Proper in Detroit, a very high-end steakhouse. That opening team had some of, the next generations of chefs.
Yeah, we just
working.
wasted a lot of time with them, by the way. So, but continue.
You want me to, burn them?
No, I'm just kidding.
Let me give him a quick burn.
Nice sear.
Steaks are shit.
You made a steak for Drake there one time,
Yeah.
and
Drake-
Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Jay-Z, yeah. And Mia Khalifa, if you guys know who that is.
I have no idea.
I
who
did.
that is.
She actually
Was
tried
it-
to take
was it
on
like-
one of the sous chefs.
Like
she was
international politician or something.
Yeah.
Politician.
It's like a Sarah Palin type thing.
Okay.
Anyway, I was working there with John Yelnick. I heard he was doing a dinner party at his house. I took the day off to attend it. We were just like work friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is sweet. This inspired me to do my own thing. I was like, on my birthday next year, I'm going to do a pop-up. So I did my own pop-up. It was more casual. It was late night breakfast. Sold out. It was crazy. I mean, it was an Ipsy pop-up.
I also think the word pop-up kind of wasn't even really around that much back in the day when that was happening, because I never heard of them happening
It
until
was.
you
I
did it.
mean, it's definitely more of a thing now, but it was around. It just wasn't as.
COVID really
Blew it
COVID
up.
really gave it the habitat to grow.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there was a huge emerge of pop-ups at COVID, and that's when we decided to shut down because we felt it was
You're like,
unethical.
we've already done this. You guys
Yeah.
are crazy.
We
This
did-
is not ethically correct.
We done been doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a pretty successful. And you guys filmed it. You guys were there for
Yeah,
the
the one
first
at
pop-up.
Cultivate.
Yeah.
Shaw.
Yeah, you guys had like a little video for me like that night. By the time I was
That
cleaned
was
up,
Trey.
that was funny.
That's a Trey Sarmento special, baby.
Cleaned it up. Yeah, get him in, get him out. That's what I would say.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, so I started doing some pop-ups because I had the success. John was doing some, and then we were just helping each other out at each other's, and we're just like, let's team up.
Mm-hmm.
So we created Pariah, and we really looked at it like a business. We have we have all of our finances set up to show investors and stuff, and not that was our intent, but we really just wanted to do it as professionally as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Be as transparent to pay our staff and whatnot as we could, because we just like doing things ethically. And we had 3 concepts because I always like overdoing shit. And it was family meal, service, and no, we started with just family meal and service. And family meal is casual, and those words are based around like some restaurant lingo. Like family meal is when all the employees get together, have a meal before you open up.
Yeah.
And then
Staff
service
meal.
is, for the guests. So family meal was just this casual, 5-item menu. Tried to have something vegetarian, tried to have something vegan, 2 proteins and a side or something.
Yeah.
And had great success with that. But our goal with making the money with that was to fund service. And I think we saved up for like 2 years before we could pull it off.
Because it's expensive. I mean, you did, like I said, you have all the creative control. So you
We
bought
brought
plates,
table.
table.
We made a lighting fixture.
Yeah, every single thing to make this whole entire experience great. And I remember just going into your basement to do laundry because I used to do laundry in your guys' basement, and I was just like, look at all this shit down here. There's just so much like forks, knives, like a whole. It looked like I walked into a catering like closet,
Yeah.
like a restaurant's catering closet or something.
I mean, dude, for the dinner that you were referring to with the tuna spine, the tuna vertebrae segment cups that they ate out of, was 22 courses. That's 22 pieces of individual plateware for 12 guests. They have to be stored and cleaned and yeah.
And you're not just gonna toss them afterwards because that's just expensive.
All right. So we had to really think outside the box. I was going through IKEA looking at like candlestick holders. Like, can a piece of food, does that look good? And I was like, how much is it? It's like, okay, $1. I can afford that.
Yeah.
So we really had to get creative, cutting pieces of wood, but it needed to look good too. So it was a challenge, but it was felt like $1 million. It was sweet. It was so cool.
Yeah.
So it's really like grabbing a hold of the full experience, like at every step of the way.
Yeah, I mean, so our 22-course meal, it was called Layover. It was a Japanese-inspired tasting menu.
Hold on, before I just want to make sure that we can scrape these services because I don't want to just dive too hard into the history of every single pop-up that we've done because it's. I mean,
Yeah, it's just, no one can care about that.
no, I mean they care about it. There's a lot of stuff that we
Too
wanna
much.
talk about.
Yeah.
But continue.
What's next?
No, just continue with that. I was just chiming in.
Oh yeah, like for example, though, you get like champagne when you walk in. There was a waiting area that had like.
Was this the one at Anthology?
Yeah, we would do it at this coffee shop after hours, called Anthology in Eastern Market. You'd sit and wait, and then we had like the whole the concept of the meal was you're laid over in Tokyo for like a few hours, and these are the things that you'd want to do. So the first thing was like go to a 7-Eleven and get all the convenience items. So we like individually wrapped onigiri that had like smoked sturgeon and caviar inside, and then there's like these little like little katsu sandwiches with
Lay's potato chips.
Lay's potato chips and sour cream and onion. But then, just went from place to place. You went to the ramen shop. You went to the fish auction. That's where the spine was.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that's how that was.
Yeah. And then you went to, like, there's a kaiseki dinner portion, which is like their very strict rule format for serving a fine dining dinner in Japan. And you went through all that and then went back on the airplane and went home. So that was like the, I don't know. Yeah,
That was the whole
that
concept.
was the whole,
The layover.
yeah.
So one thing that kind of
Trey, can you-
when I found out that you were a dungeon master, as well as just a chef, like I had kind of already learned a few of these things about you, like kind of your approach to these dinners and kind of telling the story and the full dive into it. But that made so much sense to me. Like it feels like being a dungeon master and like creating like that concept. There's some similarities there as far as like telling a story and taking your guests on a journey. And I guess, is that me reading into something, or like how how do those two worlds kind of live?
That's
How are they
true.
the same?
I never even noticed that because you did have a fully immersive. Like when we played Dungeons and Dragons, you would move a bookshelf and then go to a secret room in your house. Like what the fuck? Like you had this room and you were like, I think a bookshelf should go here, and then you just totally blocked off the room with a bookshelf on hinges. So like no one knew that's what was there unless you had like moved in before that bookshelf was there, and then you would just like pull the bookshelf out and it would swing open like a giant door, and we would go into this little cubby of a room, just kind of like what we're in right now.
Safe room.
With a custom table, with like your dice holder was underneath with LED lights, so you could click on and click off like and see your rolls under the table and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
It was pretty nuts.
I go too ham. I spread myself too thin.
I was
And-
super spoiled for that being my first Dungeons and Dragons experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all about the immersion, man. I did the same thing. I was really into airsoft growing up, and I would do like Milsim events that lasted like 40 hours, and you could get like attacked while you were sleeping and shit, and like there were
Jeez.
tanks and shit. Like we live in such like a fucked up, stressful, chaotic, traumatic existence that the escapism is something that I strive to create,
Mm-hmm.
and in any way possible. So yeah, D&D, food experiences, playing GI Joe in the backyard.
How long has that been going on?
I guess ever since I was a kid. I mean, being an only child, you develop an imagination, man. Like
That makes sense.
you're playing with your toys, GI Joes by yourself, Legos by yourself, making up an entire world. Didn't have an imaginary friend, but I could probably drum one up if you wanted me to.
Mm-hmm. What about? Did you have to develop those like, escapisms at all? Like when you were talking about kids bullying you and stuff for your race when you were a kid, or what?
No, I think that just developed more of my like charismatic side of things. I do have this like smiteful side of me, probably due to that, but I also kind of like poked fun at it and like overcame it. Like I was the one that could bully a bully without them knowing it, and they would laugh at it. You know what I mean? Like poke fun at them because the wheels were turning faster than they could turn them, and they would think it's funny.
I was always really bad at that. If somebody roasted me in school and I tried to come back with a roast, I would just basically roast myself.
But I wouldn't even try to roast them in front of other people for like an ego thing. It would be like my own amusement. Like I would manipulate for my own amusement. It would be like, you're an idiot.
so fucked up.
But I mean, I was getting made fun of. I mean, like
Yeah,
it rooted in like them coming at me.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but
Also, being an only child, do you think you had a little bit of control there too, with your parents at all?
yes and no.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd ever know that unless you had a sibling.
Yeah, true. I don't know. Yeah.
Unless you were consciously.
I was the only child growing up until I was like, I don't know how old I was when my little brother was born, but like my whole childhood, same sort of thing. So I definitely get the playing with little toy dirt bikes by yourself.
And it definitely shows in like your work too.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
you
I
definitely
think
have
what you're
an
saying.
idea of
yeah,
what
with-
you want. Like you're very like
You're
gung
a lot
ho
more
on-
in your head. I feel like.
yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
rather than just doing what like a
Could be a
sibling-
good thing and a bad thing. at
Yeah,
certain
it definitely
aspects
bites you
of
in the
life,
ass
yeah.
because you have expectations.
And overthinking, I'm sure, is a lot more easy with how in your head you've been growing up and stuff. So I'm sure that's also a downfall in myself and other people.
And failure, I feel like, hits hard because
Wow.
you have.
Both you guys have very similar drives. Now that I think about it.
It's a fear of failure for sure. I mean, that comes, I think, a little bit deeper from not just being an only child, but just
Yeah.
the upbringing and positions that I was in growing up. But
Mhm.
it's just I've seen the other side and I don't want to go back kind of thing.
Same, dude.
So
Mhm.
I always say, like, I kind of want like a tattoo of like a downriver rat. It's like eating the cheese from the trap because I like made it out of downriver when a lot of people just don't. They just like stay there and like start a family, work in a factory.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't trying to do that.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, that
people
is
don't, but
yeah, that is the reality for a lot of people though.
it's the Rust Belt, man. It's like, you know, it's just the Rust Belt of Detroit.
Yeah.
Industry.
How you liking the? Well, it's so funny, Trey. I asked him like, how do you like his new place in Ann Arbor, or I'm sorry, in Detroit compared to Ypsi, and you're like, it's actually a lot quieter. I was like, what, really? 'Cause
Yeah.
your guys' block is so quiet, but Ypsi is just, especially if you live where like Trey lives or where I live, like it is loud.
It
Lots
is
of
loud.
Fire
sirens,
trucks
people.
love just blasting
Dog, I
through
lived
the
across the
building.
street from
Gunshots
the
too,
bus
unfortunately.
station for 2
Yeah,
years.
that's yeah.
Bus farts and getting my house broken into.
I'm gonna say
and
you had a whole car drive up
car.
onto your front porch.
Yeah.
a car demolished my porch.
And
it
I was
looked
at
like it looked like the aftermath of like a 17th century naval battle. There were just splinters of wood like everywhere.
And that was someone very high on drugs, just
yeah.
Well, that
blowing
was-
that stop sign and like
Slumped.
trajectory like
Yeah.
right into your house.
And that wasn't even the first time either that house was under attack personally. Like not
I don't know if that's
personally,
under
but-
attack of just pure
the
drugs.
Under
but-
attack is it like that's like I'm just saying
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
a term. But like when I was at your house, Trey, like years ago, and remember Sean called me and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm at Trey's house. What's up?" And he's like, "Okay, good," because it's like so close to Sean's house. He's like, the house just got broken into. Alexis is like standing on the roof with a sword. I
Oh,
think
I
the cops
remember.
are on the way. Can you like go over there? And I was like, what? All right, Trey, I gotta go.
Go
You're
over
like-
there and kill all the bad guys,
like,
then
I-
report back.
You're like, I'm at work. I can't do anything
They're
about
dead.
it. And I was like, all right, I'll go over there right now. And then I go over there. The cops were already there. The guy, like, it was basically like that scene in Ghostbusters where the slime guy, like, just like goes crazy toward the end of the window and just blows through the window. Like this dude
Did you
just
see him fall?
no.
Oh, that
And I was like
would've been
right
sick.
after the aftermath, and Alexis was describing it to me, and I was like, wow, that sounds exactly like that scene in Ghostbusters where that because the dude just broke into your house, ran up the stairs. Alexis can see it because she. Did you guys have the camera? No, you got the camera after it.
Yeah, that was a post home invasion gift.
Yeah, she just that it was a home invasion, dude.
So the dude
literally
ran up-
smashed through the glass,
like, ran up the stairs.
High as hell.
Yeah, and Alexis just was like, "Well, better get the Frodo sword." Got the Frodo
Yeah,
sword
no, she was
off
put,
the wall.
she was like sitting. So it's cold outside. She's sitting in like softy shorts on the ground with a tank top, putting together IKEA furniture, and just hears the door smash open. She's like, "That ain't Sean." So there's a Lord of the Rings sword hanging on the wall.
And thank God it wasn't a cheapo. That was a real fucking sword replica.
The sharp boy. She pulls it off, jumps out the window, and is standing on like the eaves of the house,
Mm-hmm. Like the little roof chunk.
like Mulan, you know.
Yeah.
But
And
he runs in and what just does a lap around the house and then he jumps out
That's
the
exactly
window.
what he
some
did.
shit, and then
And
Jumps
then,
out the
Literally
window.
jumped out the window on a second
like,
story.
and then
broke
broke
his leg.
both of his legs.
and then Alexis sees a car pull up.
Angel.
A dude jumps out, and the girl's driving. Dude jumps out. She's like, "Angel, no, don't!"
And he starts-
And he goes over there and just starts beating the hell out of him.
What?
So fucked
Dude.
up.
Like he was running away from those people, tried to like run into your guys' house.
He got,
Yeah.
he
Was
got
like,
real high
"Oh,
and wet,
shit."
busted the house, broke his legs, got his ass beat, and then they not even catch him. They just dragged him into the car and peeled out.
Something like that. I don't know. Dude,
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
Yeah. And then I got there, and everybody was like, "What are you doing here, John?" And I was like, "We're here to check out the situation."
I got all the bad guys out.
But yeah,
No
then
bad
you
guys
got
here.
then you got the car ramming onto your porch
Yeah.
on the camera too.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
yeah, that
remember
was
seeing
good
that
footy.
video. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
clip.
Yeah.
Sports Center top
And
10.
then I had this window, like they had like a little nook where you could sit in my living room, and it overlooked the bus station. And I don't know how many World Star videos I could have got out of that, dude. There was just brawls all the time.
Dude.
I saw a dude get his head stomped.
Whoa.
I've
Yeah.
seen a good amount from Tap Room. I got Tap Room in my
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
sights.
That is a hot block.
But I would say you've probably seen more at the bus station than Tap Room. Tap
Oh.
Room's been pretty quiet.
Every time I
lately.
walk by the bus station, I always had like my Yeti filled with water just ready to
Ready to-
clock someone.
Bonk somebody on the noggin if they come at you. Dude, remember I used to live on Ballard too, so like right across
Yeah,
the
you
street
had-
from
you had
that was
crackheads
that
on your
was some of
porch.
the worst times. Dude, there was I remember one of the first times Steve St. John ever came over to my house. He was just in the kitchen giggling like a little school person, like, like, what are you doing? He's like, look, and he's got his camera out and he's filming it, doing the same shit like World Star, and there are these two homeless dudes like trying to beat the shit out of each other with milk crates, but they were both so drunk that every time one of them swung, they would just like fall over, and then like our dog's going crazy, and I'm just like, God damn, I have to get out of this house.
I know, dude. I remember you were so tired of it and used to it by a certain point. I'd come over and we'd be like chilling, like, I don't know, doing something. And you'd be like, oh my God, hold on. And you'd get like a baseball bat and go on the front porch and like, get the fuck out of here.
That's exactly what I would do. And then they would leave.
Yeah.
The first few times was very scary, but then like, you know,
He's
after
got
2
used to
years
it.
of it, I got very used to it. And it was funny because I actually had a police officer one time thank me and my friends who lived at that house because they were like, you know, after like 2 years of you guys living here, like the block is way more quiet.
Thank
Just
you
'cause
for
we-
killing all those homeless men.
Yeah, buried him in the basement. No, I'm just kidding. But it was just a very interesting thing because it's just like you can't do the things that you want to do on my front porch. Go away. Because it was such a huge front porch, people would just love to hang out on it all the time, and other tenants would just let them do it.
I was
So,
across the street from 2 liquor stores, the perfect spot.
two very crime-ridden liquor stores. But I mean, I loved it. Yeah, it's character for sure.
Yeah, dude, it's Ipsy life, man. Ipsy real.
But yeah, so what? Like, you love living in Detroit now?
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, I wish the homies were out there more.
Mm-hmm.
But with gas prices so high and shit, I know it's hard.
Yeah, it's been a difficult thing.
What's next? What's what's next, and then what's like what is your end goal? Like if you could just like boom, done, we're good.
End goal. Have a few franchises here and there in the country.
Couple
Maybe
Chuck
like
E.
a,
Cheese's, some Chili's.
maybe a Michelin. I would be okay with a Michelin 1 star as my flagship, but 2 star would be sick. 3 stars, I don't have the matzah for a 3 star.
Matzah?
I don't know.
We were born into the Italian family.
I can't. I don't think I could do it. It's just I don't want to do it. It's just too crazy.
Do you think your health would allow you to do it?
Probably not.
Mm.
But I'm also then that's the what's next. The what's next is trying to figure out how I'm not going to. Because this last pop up, I almost like threw up. I had to sit down. The sun was beating on me. You know, I was the only one
This was when we
prepping.
were shooting Pride. It was so hot.
So hot. I was in the sun, just like, I need 4 lobster pancakes, and you know what I mean. Fucking my guys saved the day.
Mm-hmm.
I had some coworkers were in line to eat. My boss came up. He's like, "Yo, let me take the pass for a second. You sit down, get some cold water on you." And
Yeah, it's important.
he took over. Like, love those guys. Shout out to Voyager crew. But yeah, my next thing is figuring out what my capabilities are in my physical state. What's gonna work where I can still do what I want to do, because I'll kill myself if I can't fucking do what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like I'll go crazy. I'm going crazy. That's why I started doing pop-ups, because I was going crazy. You know what I mean? I can't sit still. I can't not be working on something.
Well, it was interesting too because me and Trey were shooting that day, and both of us had to sit down for at least 20 minutes at a time. And even the guy who had hired us even was like, "You guys just take a break, man.
Yeah,
man. It's so hot, not enough water." And Logan, and it was just so bad. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, dude, if I'm out here dying right now, what the fuck is Sean doing? So then, like, when I got home, I had called a couple people because I was going to head out there before I went outside again. And I was like, I can't stand this heat anymore. Like, I've been in the sun this many hours this day. I can't do it. But I called Khalil, and this was something that I've never heard Khalil say. And he was just like, I don't know, man. I don't think Sean should be out here right now. It's way too hot. Like, it is, like, dangerously hot. And that's what I was worried, because I was like, man, you know, like pop-ups are cool and all, and like it's really awesome to see your expression and stuff like that, but like where do you draw the line? You know what I mean?
And it's really tough figuring that out because, like, where do I draw a line, but how do I also put myself out there without a brick and mortar, without doing pop-ups? I think the next step is kind of doing some takeovers. You know, getting my foot in the door with some of these restaurant owners and chefs that are like in Detroit, buzzing, doing some cool shit.
How do you continue to stay relevant but at the same time healthy? And which one do you think would be more important?
What's more important than staying healthy? I've been kind of doing a little bit of a relevancy campaign for my Instagram because I never post. I'm like a lurker. I don't post much.
Well, it's hard to curate the social media content to the caliber of what you're trying to represent with your food and business and stuff.
Yeah.
Not everybody can just do that. It's not easy.
And I don't have money to pay anybody to do it, you know? So I've been kind of going through I take a lot of photos of what I think is cool,
Yeah.
you know? So I got a lot of cool food photos that I just never posted. So I'm kind of going back through my library and telling little stories here and there. I'm like, oh, this is when I was in Hawaii, and it's the only fish auction in the United States, and this, and that. Here's
Yeah.
some cool pictures. And people seem to like it. They engage. I think that's a good way to stay a little more relevant. I know John got a lot. John Yelnick, park ranger guy, got a lot of success with keeping up with his Instagram heavily.
But isn't Charlotte mostly doing that, or is that all?
No,
him?
that's all him.
Okay.
That's all him. The guy's a madman, dude. He does it all. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. A staff would help. I mean, I prepped this whole thing by myself pretty much. I had a
Yeah.
little bit of help. But really where I have the most help is just hired guns for the day of the event, just because I can't be 5 places at once. So normally these pop-ups, I'm prepping the bulk majority of everything the day before, doing all the shopping 2 days before, and then executing with a small team of hourly paid friends. And then, you know, selling a fuck ton of food, like
Yeah.
with hour-long plus lines.
Do you think that's keeping you relevant with like the whole scene?
I think I do a good enough job where people look forward to, because I'm not doing anything regularly. So I feel like that keeps my attendance up, because when they hear about it, they want to engage.
Kind of like Lucha Puerco style, or like
Lucha
other
Puerco,
people-
I think they do a great job, but they go all the time. So I feel like his attendance is lower. It's just
It's just
because he's all the time. He
Food
can
residencies.
make the money. Yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I get it, but then at the same time, it's like, when at that point do you just become like a food truck pop-up stand? You know what I mean? Like a concession stand at one point.
I don't know. I don't know what his intentions are. I don't know if that's what he wants. I know his main goal getting out of retail was to spend time with his daughter. And he gets to do that by doing these pop-ups. So I'm not
Whoever
sure.
pays the bills, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about the whole entire cultural appropriation thing? Because I know that you touched on it earlier when you said, "Hey, Mike, like, can you talk to me a little bit about like my identity and like who I am and how I can cook this food, being a Korean American, and then taking a culture that is in my blood but not necessarily a part of my life." And he's like, "Yeah, dude, totally." Versus somebody who's white, and then they're just like, "Hey, I'm slanging tacos." And then calling it like, you know, this brand identity and stuff, because I've definitely seen people attack for that.
And I have myself. It's tough because sometimes you see your friends do it. Some colleagues that you respect do it.
Like exploitation versus like the art revival or appreciation.
But I think, right. And I think the education is the most important. So you can't I felt like when I made like a public stand against a guy doing some Korean shit that I felt was just not done properly. Because I don't care if you do Korean shit. I don't care if you're white and do whatever you want.
But you just slap some kimchi and peanut butter together and then
do it right.
Yeah.
One of the best like representations of Northern Thai cuisine in America is in Portland by what's his name? I forget his name, but he's a white
No
dude.
idea.
But he spent like 20 years in Thailand, knows the language, knows the people.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has every right to cook Thai food
Mm-hmm.
and does it well.
Yeah.
You know, Rick Bayless. He spent years going through Mexico, and he has Mexican restaurants in Chicago, and he does everything right, the right way. He sources his product from the right people, from like little villages and like micro, like ecosystems in Oaxaca and shit. Like,
And I feel like at that point, once you're that big and you kind of feel that yourself, that it's okay because you've talked to certain people that might be influential to you, like, for example, Mike Hahn or somebody else like that, like, you wouldn't be phased by somebody saying, like, oh, you're culturally appropriating, like, my food, when it's just like, dude, I'm a chef. I've been doing this for years. And, like, I spent all that time in Mexico or this. Like, do you think that's something that just, like, happens? Or is there always going to be one of those, like, identity crises or like that little voice in the back of your head that's like, should I be doing this or should I not, or like this person shouldn't?
I don't know. I think a lot of it's touch and go. I think a lot of it's intuitive. Like when I kind of voiced my opinion on this dude making Korean food, or what he said was Korean food, like I could just tell through his menu and descriptions and misspellings of Korean ingredients that he didn't give a fuck. He's just trying to make money.
Yeah.
I don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
I'll call you out. But even if he was putting out the same thing but trying and like trying to educate himself or asking people how to do things the right way, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. You know, just try.
You should speak closer to the mic.
Just try, you know.
Yeah. And trying, I think, is definitely something that you do, as you've talked about it with like all the different concepts that you've created with like Pariah and Magook and other things like that. Like you come up with these concepts. Fun fact, Sean Marshall is actually the person you came up with Drop for Drop Creative. When we were talking about that, I remember we were like kind of going back and forth on.
Name guy.
Yeah. You're very good at naming things.
So out of all, like you've touched on like Pariah, you've touched on Magook, and you've done other pop-ups of sorts. Do you see like Magook ever like turning into a physical space, or do you ever see Pariah turning into a physical space? Like, do you, if there are any, which like pop-up can you see like take in the long run if you had that opportunity?
Okay.
Or is it something completely different and you wouldn't even like keep one of those alive and like burn it and create something new?
You've talked about Indian food a lot.
I talked about Indian food in the past, but I feel like it's not my place. I'd like to learn more about Indian food. I'd like to study with a couple friends that are not necessarily Indian, but know quite a bit. So I feel like I don't have any like real jurisdiction to create Indian food outside of like maybe influence for guests or for myself to eat. But I do think, you know, Indian food is a great, vehicle moving forward for
Flavor.
vegetarianism and kind of stepping away from meat proteins, because that's something we're going to need to do on a global scale. And I see it happening within the next 10, 20 years. So prepare to see Indian food.
Great.
Yeah, totally. I love Indian food. Best vegetarian meal you can have. But for Trey's question, I think, Pariah is going to be something that's always going to be close to John Yelnick in my heart. It's like we birthed this thing and conquered like nearly impossible challenges with like no money, and put together a very high polished like experience for people that I think they'll remember their entire lives. We've got some very faithful followers from those dinner series. But I don't think that'll ever kind of become a brick and mortar just because John and I are independent of each other. We both have different styles. We work very well together. Like, I'll work with John any day of the week. Like, we really vibe and put great menus together.
For our listeners, once again, this is not me. This is
Right.
other-
John Yelnick,
yeah.
John Y. And he's chef partner, Pariah. Migook, I think, has the most traction. I've had multiple friends. I was actually just talking to Matt about this before we jumped on, about it taking, more of a solid shape.
Could you see it being like almost like how Ricewood is now, like inside York or inside of a establishment of that nature, to where it's like
I
that,
see
or
it
like
more
the
of-
Detroit Shipping Co., like something of that,
Slinging-
or even classier of like an actual like restaurant.
Fire
I'm
chicken
thinking-
sandwiches all day.
Yeah. I'm thinking more of a high polished fast casual
Mm-hmm.
that in I don't know, every metropolis in the United States.
So like, I mean, the first
Like, that's the big franchise. That's a big dream. Like,
Would you name it Magook?
Yeah.
like a
Dope.
Chipotle or like a no tie, like an elevated, like not the same type of food, but like that kind of style where it's like new age, but like still that quick and go kind of.
Yeah, but a little further.
A
More
little,
like,
yeah, a little
so
classier.
like maybe more elevated than Shake Shack, but in that category.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was gonna
You know.
say Shake Shack, but I didn't want to piss you off.
I just had Shake Shack today, and that wouldn't piss me off at all. But yeah, I literally had Shake Shack today. That was fucking awesome. Yeah, something like that. But I really do want a place to pour my creative energy into. So like a very small, like 60-seat flagship fine dining restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
would
And that
be
would
where I
obviously
would
be
be.
something completely separate than anything that you've done yet.
Yeah, and fuck other concepts too. Like, if you got the money, baby, and you're watching, let's go.
And that's all the fun and games in like the future. But like right now, the focus is
Figuring out how to make something work for me. It's not going to kill me. That's
staying
what I'm
healthy.
doing now is going to kill me.
Yeah, staying healthy.
Staying healthy.
So you can
Getting
get
a
that,
kidney.
Get that transplant. By the way, if anybody who's listening to this knows anybody who wants to give up a kidney to Sean, he would totally take it.
Yeah, I'll take a few.
Yeah, my buddy Connor just got a kidney after being on the wait list for 5 years. So,
Congratulations, Connor. How's he healing up?
he's good. He went home and he's been in bed and everything like that. I should probably actually text him about this after this podcast because I know it was last week is when he got sent home.
Okay.
Yeah, but he said that the doctors told him that he might not need to do any more dialysis at all right now because they had said something along the lines of like,
Success.
yeah, like maybe once you get it, we might still have to taper you off it or just kind of see what's going on. But they were like, no, you're good. You don't have to do it anymore. So he was like, holy fuck.
He's like, you just got to drink your own pee from now on. Like, what?
No, but for 5 years, he couldn't do anything. It's just kind of like how whenever we go up north or something like that, we got to find a place that's got your electricity and stuff so you can do dialysis. So like right now, all he wants to do is go somewhere without electricity in the woods for like a week because
Yeah.
he's like, that's like the most freeing thing that I can think
Totally,
of right now.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good for him. Yeah, I've actually was watching YouTube camping gear reviews yesterday for like hours trying to find the best power solution.
I've heard Jackeries are
Jackeries.
I've heard they're so.
I heard the blue Yeti, blue
Okay.
TTI.
Shit, I just
Okay.
want a little Honda generator, baby. That's what I would take with me if I had the money for it.
It's loud though.
You can get them like super quiet.
Really?
Yeah, I mean like
They
the
have electric ones, too.
smaller ones
Really?
that are like the I don't know
grand.
how many watts those ones are rated at, but like Honda is gonna be $1,000 more expensive than like the.
The Ryobi.
I mean, you can get Ryobi, Makita, whatever. I mean, like those battery ones too. You can get those outlets.
Pulls
with-
a lot of voltage though, dude. Like it says like average 100, but 600 max.
I don't know what those Makita ones are rated at, but like those are the cool like building out tool sets all in one brand. So then if you can just buy like a ton of those batteries and you can just
Yeah. Set alarms on my phone. Like, okay.
Well, speaking of camping, because I threw out my back, I need to get it better before I leave this weekend. Today's Wednesday. I got to leave Friday morning. So I got to stand up. I can't sit in this chair any longer. The camera's also just died. I would say, like, is there anything else we want to do before we wrap it up?
Thanks for coming out, guys.
Yeah, totally, man.
Yeah.
Man, I'm sorry I
Matt?
didn't get much mic
Matt's-
time, dude.
Yeah, Matt, you
Oh,
were
no,
you were
it's-
really quiet today. I was curious.
I mean, it's your guys' podcast. I mean, I'll talk all day, but you know.
You do have the voice for it.
I should have stopped halfway through and said, Matt, why aren't you speaking? But okay,
Felt like last time I was on here, I didn't make as much sense. So
it's okay.
Damn, Matt, your voice on the audio sounds like it's like perfect. It's like way different.
Just want Matt's voice in your
You got
ear,
some
just
ASMR.
whispering.
I'm
Sean's
available for voiceovers.
or he can just whisper into you as you try to go to sleep.
Well, it needs to be through the.
ASMR work.
So your next menu, you just gotta have Matt just read it off. and
Dude,
just
I
make
found
it
a new sweet ASMR Lego building.
Ooh.
That's
Pretty tight.
All right,
What? What was that?
I'm out of here. That's cool, but I'm just not into ASMR at all.
Neither am I, but I thought it was like a cool ASMR thing.
You're
That's
right.
not like-
it is.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not into ASMR either, but
All right, we gotta go. Grandpa over here needs to go change his ice pack.
It's true. All right, I love you guys. Thank you for
Peace.
stepping in. Bye.
Bye.
bye.